Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Thursday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and the roller coaster ride continues. The peaks and the valleys, the ups and the downs. The 2019 Mets cannot seem to string together a winning streak of any kind, of any substantial kind, I should say. Last night lost to the San Diego Padres. Couple of culprits that I want to talk about from last night's game, where the tone was set and how, and some new rumors that I'm not really believing, but I want to talk about them anyway. On the trade front for the Mets, and I want to talk briefly about Pete Alonso. So, got a couple of things to cover today. I'll do my best to get to them before the game starts this afternoon on today's show. I guess first and foremost, let's talk about Noah Syndergaard's performance last night. So, Noah Syndergaard pitched well enough to win last night, and if he had a better defensive team behind him, he probably would have had a much better shot at that. Between the defense and the bullpen, it wasn't in the cards for Noah to earn himself a W last night, although, as I said, he did pitch well enough to win. 7 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 4 runs allowed total, but 3 of them were earned. So that's a quality start. I mean, quality start is 6 innings pitched, 3 runs allowed. So Noah added an inning after that. It's his 3rd consecutive outing where he's gone 7 innings. So that's a positive sign. The walks were up, and that was a bit of a problem. And 2 of those walks, Noah walked 5 altogether, 1 of them intentional, and 2 of those walks came around to score. And that's just killer. I mean, that just is a brutal, brutal, brutal thing. But, Noah, Syndergaard did his best last night, but I think the Mets set the tone in the very first inning when they had Dinelson Lamet, or Dinelson, however you pronounce his name, when they had Lamet from the Padres on the ropes. He had the bases loaded. McNeil did what McNeil does to lead off the game. He leads off with a double. Conforto drives him around with a base hit. Mets end up with the bases loaded and still come away with only 1 run in the first inning. So that, to me, sets the tone for the game not going the way that we want it to go. We've seen this story too many times where the Mets just don't get enough runs. And that's exactly what happened last night. They did not get enough runs early when they had the opportunity to do so. And, you got to put a little bit of the onus on Noah there for not being able to slam the door. But, give him more than a 1-run lead. Is it so much to ask? When you get guys in scoring position, is it so much to ask? Both Cano and Frazier last night had bad nights at the plate. Both left 3 men on base. Both came up to bat with scoring opportunities and failed to do so. And then, the real kicker was when the Mets were down 4-2. And Craig Stammen was in the game. Our old friend Craig Stammen from the 2015 Nationals, who got himself into trouble and got himself out of trouble, striking out Conforto with 2 outs and the bases loaded. I think that was in the 7th inning, bottom of the 7th. But the other problem here is that it was a 4-2 game at that point, and then the bullpen came in after Syndergaard's 7, and in just 2 innings they allowed the Padres to tack on 3 extra runs, and so that was between Familia and Steve Nagosic, who just really looks overmatched at the major league level. So it's just an all-around crap sandwich from last night's game. A lot of things went wrong that could have gone right and didn't. So it's a loss, and it is what it is. Speaking of Noah Syndergaard, his name appears yesterday along with Edwin Diaz in the quote, in the column rather, that says, "Guys at the Mets will listen to offers on." And look, the bottom line is no one needs to freak out about the Mets trading Syndergaard or trading Edwin Diaz. I think any team is crazy not to listen to what other teams want or are willing to part with for their players. In other words, the Mets don't know what they have in Edwin Diaz or Noah Syndergaard, or maybe the better way to phrase it would be they'll have a better idea of what they have if they see what other teams are willing to offer for those pieces, for any pieces. So I think it's crazy if the Mets were to say no, we are not listening to offers on any of these guys. Basically, unless your name is Pete Alonso and possibly Jeff McNeil, probably Jeff McNeil. So unless your name is Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, or Jacob deGrom, the Mets need to listen to offers. Someone comes along and gives a great package offer for Michael Conforto, the Mets need to accept it, or at the very least, strongly consider it. Same thing goes for Noah Syndergaard. And of course, the same goes for Zach Wheeler, who will make his return tomorrow night in what will effectively be an audition for a handful of teams that really, really need starting pitching. But Syndergaard could fall into that category as well, if he were to be made available. And from the sounds of it, the Mets are going to listen. I'm not 100% sure that they're going to be parting with Noah Syndergaard. And as far as the Edwin Diaz stuff is concerned, I'm sorry, but the only way that trade works out for the Mets is if Diaz either A, provides the value as the closer he was supposed to provide, or B, he builds up enough value for himself that the Mets are able to trade him for a package of prospects that is comparable to the two guys that they sent to Seattle for Diaz. That'd be, of course, Jared Kelenic and Justin Dunn. See, I managed to squeeze Jared Kelenic's name in there, keeping him relevant. So that, that's the only way to me that the idea of trading Edwin Diaz makes any sense. And right now, he's not brought the value to the team in terms of his performance, and he will not fetch the kind of value that the Mets need to restock after that, what looks right now to be a failed trade. So, listen, fine, but don't expect, at least as far as I'm concerned, don't expect to see either of those guys get moved. Jason Vargas, though, is an interesting opportunity to consider moving. He's pitched very well over the last couple of months. You take his early season struggles out of the equation, and he's got one of the better ERAs in the National League, and that's no joke. I mean, that's legit. And it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine at work, actually, about velocity and how that was. We're talking about all these guys now pitching 100 miles an hour, and actually, Mad Wax commented on this too on YouTube. But all these guys are throwing the ball so hard. And, you look at Noah Syndergaard throwing over 100 miles an hour. Zach Wheeler, 100 miles an hour. DeGrom is touching 100 miles an hour. And they're not putting guys away with speed. It's almost like Jason Vargas and his capping off, maxing out at, 86 or 85 with his fastball is more effective than these guys that are throwing 100, 101 miles an hour. It's nuts, but it's true if you look at it. I mean, they just, I think it's so rare to see a guy like Vargas that these batters just don't know what to do with him. I mean, look at how he kept the Padres off balance the other night, Vargas, and then look at the at bats they put together against Noah Syndergaard last night. Totally different, of course. Totally different styles of pitchers. I understand that. But my point there is, look at the styles and see which one has been more effective. It's certainly not the one you would appear to want to choose. You're sort of gravitating toward the younger fireballer in Noah Syndergaard, like, oh, this guy's got to be the more effective of the two. But shit, no, the numbers don't back that up. So interesting stuff and a good point. One final thing to talk about. Since the second half started, Pete Alonso's been in a bit of a slump, and I've noticed it. I've noticed that he, to me at least, he seems to be trying to hit home runs. That's what I noticed, especially last night. He took a couple of massive cuts last night, and of course he did not hit any home runs last night. Nor did he hit any the night before against Chris Paddock, which would have been amazing. He did draw like 9 walks the night before, but the point to that, at least for me, is that Alonso looks to be scuffling a little bit. He's hit what appears to be his first skid of any kind in the majors, and it's not a major skid because he is, like I said, he's still getting on base, but he's striking out a little bit more than we're used to him striking out, and he's not hitting home runs at the pace at which he was hitting them in the first half. Is it fatigue? Is it an all-star break / home run derby fallout? We don't know, and we'll have to see how much longer this lasts. But I'm going to be paying close attention to Pete today, assuming that he plays. You know, Mickey does love to rest the younger guys while leaving Robinson Cano in there to play 158 games. I kid, of course. He will be playing, Pete will, today. And today the Mets play at 12:10. So early game today, quick turnaround. And then the Mets welcome in the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow for a 3-game set over the weekend at Citi Field. As I mentioned, Zach Wheeler will be pitching tomorrow night, but this afternoon, Jacob deGrom is on the mound for the Mets. And this reeks to me of a game that deGrom dominates and the Mets don't score for him. I feel like it's another typical deGrom recipe start. So we'll see if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But we'll find out in a few short hours. So I will do my best to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be out of the office tomorrow, but I may be able to record, may be able to get something recorded. So if that's possible, I will do it. If not, I might come back over the weekend. Who knows? But if not over the weekend, I will certainly be back on Monday to catch us up on what we might have missed between now and whenever the next time might be. So until then, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.